Hey, what is going on guys? Victor here with another video on Path of Exile. And today I wanted to just give a quick update on the next build I'll be playing this league. After wrapping up my starter summon skeleton build, I decided that the next build I wanted to try out would be a melee build. Now, I was already interested in the mechanic that allowed gladiators to cap both their block and spell block, and was already set on implementing that in my next build. Something I also wanted to do was find a spell or attack that not many people were playing, and hopefully rekindle some appreciation for a skill that is no longer popular. The result of thinking about these two things ended up with me trying out some form of Reave one way or another. Initially, I was thinking I would want to go for a max attack speed build with the challenger charges, but then I realized that for the leveling process up to the early mapping phase, bleed explosions were just too damn good to give up. That being said, with the bleed mechanic, clearing normal packs of mobs during the leveling process was just about the easiest thing any melee build has ever done. But the downside was that even when it came to actual bossing and dealing single target DPS, this build was effectively a Z DPS build. At least until you finished Act 10 and slapped on some decent uniques and got a 6 link. So in terms of the leveling process, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. Going through the majority of the zones were simple and easy, as 1 or 2 bleed stacks, depending on whether or not you allocated Crimson Dance, was generally enough to kill a pack of mobs. But dear God, was fighting bosses a chore. For single target DPS, I would highly recommend going Crimson Dance for the sake of improved single target DPS, but even then towards Act 8 and onwards, downing bosses on a 4 link would take an eternity. So if you got some leveling uniques and a tabula rasa, I would recommend you use those two, as it would make the leveling process a lot easier. Now let's talk about the early mapping phase. So I was able to reach the Atlas earlier today, and with 3 labs completed, Dreadbeak in one hand and Lionize Remorse in the other, I was able to complete up to around tier 4, tier 5 maps, which in all honesty is not too bad. I will mention, however, that the general feel of Reave combined with the bleed mechanic did not feel so great by this point, as it took roughly 3 or 4 hits to wind up Reave, and with a relatively slow attack speed, it did not feel so good. So in terms of the early mapping phase for a bleed Reave build, I'll probably have to give it around a 4 out of 10. The stacks that give Reave its signature attack range just take too long to build up and fall off too damn fast. So while my POB might look pretty good in terms of DPS, the build itself just doesn't feel that great to play, as it is essentially a lesser version of a last rate build with shorter range and lower DPS. And that's really all I can currently say for this build in this video. Over the next few days, I'll be playing around a bit, maybe respecing to an attack speed non-bleed version of the build to potentially push into red tier maps. I might honestly look into making an Impale crit version or something along those lines, and I also want to collect some loot data from running Heist for another video, so be on the lookout for that video whenever I post it. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.